I am so glad I wasn't raised in New York. See, my mom didn't do many great things, but one good thing I could say, not raised here. It's sad to see that the teenagers in New York, because people want to say the Bronx, Brooklyn are the worst boroughs, but it's almost everywhere. Even Long Island, when they had the MS-13 gangs, Southside Queens has its bad parts, but yeah, I wouldn't have survived. Like now, like I'm so like accustomed to the hospitality in Georgia that I say yes, ma'am, no, thank you. I can't assimilate to how the attitudes of New Yorkers are, and I've come across some respectful New Yorkers, but overall, the people here, you could tell that majority of them were raised on survival. Like even walking my children to school is rare because at a young age you have to walk to school. When I used to live in Brooklyn, I walked. It was only 2 blocks away, but I walked. So from a young age, the children here have to grow up early. Then when they reach about middle school, I was telling a girlfriend this. I was like, after elementary school, parents kind of step back and you're basically, you have to be responsible. Like, you have to go to school, take public transit, the bus, the train, come home, warm up some dinner, or even learn how to cook and wait for your parents to go get home. They're really not doing homework with you. Some don't even ask how your day is because let me tell you something, the cost of living in New York is very high. So you have people that's working like one or two jobs here, and if you're working one job, the hours are long. Like for me, I'm only able to do homework with my children the weekends because I work nights. By the time I they come from school, I see at least two of them, and then unfortunately the sitter gets them, brings them home. Dinner's already made. They go to bed. When I get in, I see them sleeping. But other than that, I don't. I'm not able to interact with them and put them to bed. That's the sad reality. But I make sure that I ask them how their day was. I'll text them. I'll talk to them while walking them to school. The weekend time, or if they're out of school, like we in New York just had their spring break. So one day out of that 8 days that they were out, 7 days that they were out, I spent quality time with each child to ensure that, because a lot of times when children end up falling victims to gang violence or they get caught up with the law, they didn't have a proper home structure. Like they don't have somebody to go to or talk to. They don't have somebody to ask them how their days are. Like they don't have that bond with their parents. I try to keep that. But again, every child is different because you can be close with your child and that peer pressure has a hold on them, and what you taught them, how you raised them, goes out the window. And that's another thing because people like to blame the parents and whatnot, but you could sit here and talk to these children. You can beat them, but once they reach a certain age, they're going to do what they want to do. We're all given free will. So people need to remember that while they're criticizing parents, especially those that don't have any children. If you don't have any children, please keep your mouth quiet, because I feel like those that don't have any children, that's good. But if you know of parents or a parent or even a child struggling, you could be that village. There's a reason why I said it takes a village to raise a child. It does. It's not up to the parents. The parents need help. But you could be a mentor, I'm pretty sure big brother, big sister are always looking for people to mentor these children because they need guidance. So those of you that don't have any children, that's fine and dandy, but I'm pretty sure you have a niece and nephew it would be nice for you to have a bond with. So yeah, we don't have a strong community or village anymore. So it's very sad. So when I hear of a teenager or anybody in their 20s, adolescence that passes away due to violence, that could have been avoided. Sometimes it's saddened because it's like, wow. You see down south, and I'm not saying every part of down south is nice, but they taught you, especially the teachers, if you had that bond with the teachers, communication skills, how to de-escalate a situation. Here in New York, you look at somebody wrong, they're ready to argue. I can count on my fingers and toes how many arguments I've seen on the train, and a few fights, but mostly arguments that could have escalated to something deeper. Thank God I've never seen anybody stabbed, shot at. It does happen, but I've never seen it. And it all started over an argument. Because my thing is, I tend to have a fresh mouth, but I use discernment. So if a person looks like, and usually you know, especially if they start raising their voice, once they raise their voice, they're getting ready to put your hands on you. So I would say what I have to say, and that's it, and then end it by God bless you. You can't go anything wrong with God bless you, or just keep your mouth quiet. But other than time, usually I make a mean face, or I'll say one or two things, but that's it. Me, I don't do the back and forth in public, because again, I want to get back home in one piece. I want to get back home alive. So we need to learn how to not have an answer for everything. We need to learn that there's just certain arguments you may want to lose or just keep quiet. Because it's not worth your life. Somebody stepped on your foot. Okay, they didn't say sorry. They pushed you on the train, on the bus. They didn't say excuse me. Yes, you're entitled to respect, but if you know you live in a state like New York where the people are majority of the time are rude, how are you trying to get respect? The majority of them don't know that here. Or choose not to be respectful. Then you have to think too, some people weren't raised with respect. I learned that in my household, you would think because I came from a Caribbean background. Now, don't get me wrong. We were taught how to greet one another, but as far as respect, I can count on my hands how many times I heard BITC, FU, and a lot of arguments in my household. And that's adults. So again, in a Caribbean background, you piss them off, they will say something to you. They will put you in your place. So I wasn't taught conflict resolution from my parents. I had to learn that by going to therapy and talking with other people. I'm in my 30s. Since I've been in New York, I've only been in 2 confrontations which was physical. One was with a man and one was with a female. And I walked away because I'm not about to hit you back. And the only ways I'm putting my hands on you is to defend you when it comes to my children. Other than that, I'm not putting my hands on you. That's not me. No. That's why I was able to survive that long here in this state, because once it gets to that point, or even before, if I can prevent it, because sometimes you can't prevent somebody putting their hands on you. You can look at somebody wrong and they put your hands on you. Even although I'll say something back, what I could say back, they'll come up in my face and they'll hit me. But I know, turn away or just keep it moving. But the back and forth I can't do. I've never been slashed. I never got my hair pulled. I never been dragged. It hasn't gotten to that point because again, I try to avoid those situations. Now, if somebody does something disrespectful, I'm probably going to give them a nasty look. And a lot of times they'll say sorry. I don't have to open my mouth. The minute I look at you, you know you did something wrong. But other than that, that back and forth confrontation, I don't do. So I say that to say this. To my fellow people that are raised in urban communities, take heed of learning conflict resolution, communication skills. We have YouTube. YouTube is free to listen to. Go get a coach. But that arguing and that unnecessary bickering, that's not going to work, because it's sad that those young people, you see, they want to say, oh, the young people are the future. Yeah, but they look to us. You could sit there and preach to them, but they're watching our actions. So if these young people are seeing violence and people that don't know how to communicate, that's what they're going to emulate. Not only that, by the time a child reaches the age of 13, 1 to age 13 are very critical, because by the time they're 13, they're already set in their ways. Now, you can try to change them, but it's kind of hard, because keep in mind, 13 now, peer pressure, influence of social media. So all of that gets very hard to try to mold them. So that's why it's easier to start from young, because once they reach that teenage stage, they're already set in their ways. Once they're a teenager, technically, if they haven't changed out of their habits by 18 or before they reach 25, because they say the brain fully develops at 25. So once they hit that 25 mark and they were a certain way at age 15 and they're 26, 30, they're already far gone. So we could sit here and blame the parents and whatnot, but the environment plays a part. Because if you have a chaotic household and it's chaotic in your neighborhood, how are you going to be raised? Now, if it's peaceful in your household and chaotic in the outside, you have a chance of surviving. But you can fall into peer pressure if your parents are not staying on top of you, because you have some strict parents that think, oh, well, they could just look at the child and they know not to do wrong. Those are the ones that have the sneaky children that are going behind their back and doing things and they don't know. So you have to stay on them. Don't think because, oh, you haven't got a call from the teacher, they're not doing anything. Those are the children that you need to watch. Now, the children that are out there in the streets, breaking curfew, having weapons, causing fights and destruction, we already know where that stems from. And this is why those that don't have any children or have jobs where it's flexible, you need to be volunteering to help our young people. Because again, we could sit here and say that the generation is bad, they have no guidance, but what do you do to help them to fix it? Because let me tell you something. If I see a child doing something in the street, like one time, I remember a girl was cut in school. And this goes to show you how it's important to pay attention. She had to be like 9. And I would see her walk to my daughter's school. And then one time she was just walking around on the phone. So I was like, do you need help? She was like, no. Walked back from the laundromat, saw her again. I took a picture while she wasn't looking. I alerted the school safety and was like, this child is supposed to be in the school, but she's on the corner doing God knows what. So stuff like that, people want to say, mind your business. No, because if something happens to her, guess what's going to happen? Now the parent is going to say, well, I thought she was in school. And then imagine me now saw her in the street and was like, I'm going to mind my business. Something happened to her or she's kidnapped. And then I have to live with the conscience that I saw her and I didn't say anything because I'm like, oh, well, I'm just going to develop the New York mentality and mind my business. When it comes to a young person, you can't mind your business. Adults, yes, and a young person, no. So I wanted to say that.